that they lost a good many of the titles to the properties. And when they're inside of a bond, you don't know who owns what. You got to take the bond, and you got to take it apart. So this is a whole other facet of what's going on here. And there's a Supreme Court case right now. And if the bankers lose, they're screwed, because everybody can live in their house for nothing. It's going to be something else. And they are going to lose, believe me. But getting back to the CDOs, what Goldman's saying is, well, these people that lost money in these CDOs, well, we'll pay them back. I mean, it only cost about maybe $50 or $100 billion. And so they can keep on going along and eventually pay these people back and not go to jail. That's what they're talking about.
Okay. That makes sense. And ladies and gentlemen, we've only got a minute here, but Mr. Chapman, the credit, I don't know, understand this, the Credit Agricole Society General faces Greek risk as debt crisis deepens. I don't understand what your question is. What's at risk with the Greek crisis because of the unprofitable units in their country? European banks appear to be taking the biggest risk. Are they going to basically fall, or are they going to absorb all this great loss? And how in the world can Greece pay back $9 trillion, as they say they want $1 trillion? They need $1 trillion a year.
Well, I don't think the figure is $1 trillion, but they have serious problems. And the lenders,
I'm sorry,
people,
$1 billion. I said $1 trillion. He's retyped it. It's $1 billion a year.
Yeah. They need more than that. They need about $80 billion a year in order to roll their paper over. Look, it's going to go one of two ways here. Either they get the loans that they need and try to work it out and pay off the structure, or they go into default and go bankrupt. And I think the best thing for them to do is go bankrupt and leave the Eurozone and use the drachma. I mean, they should have never let this, the European Union and the Eurozone should have never let this go this far. It's crazy. They knew what was going on. They knew Goldman Sachs was in there making up different ways to Mickey Mouse the books. They were quite well aware of it. And nobody did anything. So they were, it's like aiding and abetting. They're just as guilty as Greece is. And they can pontificate about, well, we run our country wonderfully and we don't have those problems. Well, I get news for you. You may. But you know what these guys were doing. Somebody should have blown the whistle.
Amen to that. We got to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back a little long. We're talking with Mr. Bob Chapman, the man of the hour, with The International Forecaster. That's theinternationalforecaster.com. You can give him a phone call off the internet service, or you can send him an email. One of the two. Phone 800-375-4188, or send him an email at bob@int4caster caster.com. Check him out. Mr. Chapman knows what he's talking about out there. And we got a call here, Mr. Chapman. Right off the bat, we've got a caller, and I'm assuming it's from Colorado. I don't have a phone number here. So, caller, come in here and let us know who you are if you're not Colorado Al.
No, it is me, Drew.
Okay.
Bob, Mr. Buffett is now pressing Congress to, I think, pass this bill of Senator Dodd's so he can protect his position in the derivatives. And I say that Mr. Buffett should have to pay like everybody else if his derivatives are no good. What do you say, sir?
Well, I agree. He's on the hook at the piece of legislation that Senator Nelson, who is in his back pocket, has presented, he'll save $8 billion. And I want to bring to your attention the fact it was just a few months ago that Berkshire Hathaway, the firm that he controls, was found guilty of defrauding for $300 million and paid a $100 million fine. So, they drag this guy around because he's supposedly credible and this genius, when in fact all of the money he's made is with inside connections within government and inside information. And this is what this guy's all about. He's a crook just like the rest of them.
So he needs to go to jail with Geithner and Paulson and Bernanke and the rest of them. Do you agree?
Well, if you defrauded somebody of $300 million, don't you think that the police would come after you? Well, of course. But these people all belong to they all belong to the Illuminati. They're connected, and they don't go to jail. There's two sets of laws, one for them and one for you and I.
Well, you know that George Orwell in Animal Farm, Bob, what he said, all animals are equal, but evidently Mr. Buffett is a more equal animal than the rest of us, isn't he?
That's right. And it was a great book.
Thank you very much for your time, Drew. God bless.
God bless. Mr. Chapman, we've got all these problems here, and everybody's asking the same question. When's it all going to stop? When are people going to stand up and say enough of all this false bailout and the fact that people should let these big companies that they say the too big bail, let them bail out and file bankruptcy and close up? Well, what do you say?
Well, in classical economics, it says that under the capitalistic system of free enterprise and entrepreneurship, that you have the right to go bankrupt. And so these companies shouldn't be bailed out by the U.S. taxpayer via the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve. And so the answer to the question, they should have all been allowed to go under. All the major banks, all the major brokerage firms are all broke. They're all broke. And that's the answer. And it's going to happen sooner or later, whether these people like it or not. What can we do about it? When you go to the polls in November, you make sure that you get rid of everybody out of Congress that's running for re-election, in the House and some in the Senate. Get rid of them. And that's the only way you've even got a chance. And if you don't get rid of them in this next election, you're liable to live on your knees for the remainder of your life, and so on, your children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. Because these people want world government and they want to enslave you.
Mr. Chapman, what do you think about Obama's comment that Congress should stop extending the limit for receiving unemployment benefits because of his concern of the exploding deficit? What do you think this will do to the nation if he does not extend the unemployment?
Well, first of all, it's politics and it's smoke and mirrors. He doesn't mean what he says. He doesn't want to stop those checks because he knows that he's going to get blamed for it. And so he really wants the checks to continue indefinitely. And you can't do that. I mean, we've got to face the music. We've got to have a depression. And that's all there is to it. What we have to do is stop our government from having another war. Because they're going to try that. I promise you. Because they did it in every other society for the last 1,000 years that's got into the trouble that we're in, which was artificially created by the Federal Reserve and these bankers and Wall Street. This just didn't happen. This was planned. And all you have to do is go and read the pronouncements and announcements of foundations, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberger Group, the Royal Institute, the Group of 30, the Group of 300. I could go on for an hour. These people are working together for world government, and the only way they can make it happen is to bring everybody, but particularly Americans and Europeans, to their knees financially and economically.
With that outlook, Mr. No, not Mr. Spitzer. Let's see, what was the question? Dean Baker came back and makes the comment that we should fire Bernanke for ignoring the abuses of people like Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers. Do you feel Mr. Baker has got the same has got the nation at heart, or is he just out there with a lot of wind?